What's up, everybody? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel, and then follow me on social media on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter so you guys don't miss any of our content over the course of this season. All right, let's talk some basketball. Why are the Boston Celtics 27th in paint points scored per game? Why do they do that? Why are they third in pull-up jumpers taken? Why do they take the most threes? Like, why are they, as athletically gifted as they are, so perimeter oriented? Can you explain that to me?
Well, honestly, so like they are athletically gifted, but a lot of their players are not like perimeter paint touch guys, right? Jayson Tatum has never been a super high end, like, I'm going to go get paint touches, drive and kick. I'm going to go get paint touches. Like, he's if I'm going to get the ball, I might get a post up and try to bully somebody in a mismatch onto the block, but I'm probably going to pull up more than I'm going to try and get all the way to the rim that way. Jaylen Brown can be a real paint touch guy. I would say he's their one, but Drew Holiday is 33, 34 years old at this point, hasn't really been that guy the last couple of years. Derek White has never been a super high end paint touch guy. Kristaps Porzingis has always been a perimeter big. It kind of does line up to me in terms of that, but I also can see why this would be a concern, because we've seen, in general, the last couple of years under Joe Mazzulla, their late game offense has been a slog from time to time. The ability to get a paint touch is a real combo breaker, a counter breaker, which is why we'll talk about the Thunder. And this is what people, I think, are waiting for after your intro. Why I do like the Thunder in some way with their late game offense to be able to consistently get interesting looks. The Celtics have struggled to consistently get interesting looks. The Timberwolves this year, another team that has struggled to consistently get good looks around the rim, certainly from different scenarios in late game situations. So that would be my one concern with Boston. Can they consistently find late game offense that works for them? We need to also call it out too. This is a truly elite offense. I mean, they have a 122 offensive rating right now. They are elite on that end because Jayson Tatum is incredible. Jayson Tatum's pull-up game has really shifted over the course of, I would say, the last month and a half or so. He's been outstanding, knocking down pull-up threes. I think he's at 39% since the start of January, something like that, with pull-up threes. That really transforms their potential on offense in late game situations. Having the spacing of Kristaps Porzingis has totally transformed everything that they can do on the offensive end, in addition to being able to play big with Porzingis and Al Horford and be able to guard a lot of different things, stay big on defense while having 5-out spacing, which is so important to what they want to do. Yeah, look, I love the Celtics. I think they've been fantastic this season. I would have them, number 2, number 3. I basically have them 2A right now with the team we're going to talk about momentarily here. They defend at the point of attack at a super high level. They can play big. They're flexible lineup wise. Again, they're just not that deep and probably can't withstand much in terms of injuries. But yeah, the Celtics are an elite team and they are clearly the favorite to come out of the Eastern Conference right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of trolling a little bit there with the way I presented you that question. I think a lot of people galaxy brain the Celtics a little bit with the standpoint. It's well, watch this. They're clearly bad at this. And it's well, they're fucking awesome at everything else. It does. 100%. People definitely galaxy brain them a little bit. I love the fact that they have so much depth at very specifically important skill sets. They have a depth of perimeter defenders at the guard position. They have a depth of perimeter defenders at the wing position. They've got a legitimate shot blocker in Kristaps Porzingis. They've got a guy in Al Horford that can guard some of the bigger post players in the league and usually tends to cause problems for them. They've got guys that can beat mismatches out of the post. They've got guys that can beat mismatches out of ISO. They can play drive and kick basketball. The big thing that I'm going to be watching with them down the stretch of the season, because they have an incredibly easy schedule down the stretch. They're pretty tough here for the next few weeks, and then it lightens up basically the rest of the way. They are already 6 games up on the rest of the Eastern Conference. They're 4 games up on Minnesota for the number 1 overall seed. They have some slush here to really treat the last 20 something games as almost like a testing ground for a lot of stuff. I'd like to see them work on essentially, I don't know if it needs to be a different offensive configuration entirely or just an approach, but like to me, they are, because their offense is not just legitimate. It's been really good regardless of matchup. They've also been one of the very best offenses in the league against top 10 defenses. They have had no issue scoring the basketball in the large sample, but they have had issues scoring the basketball in the small sample. What I mean by that is they've had games where they go broke and they look like shit. And a big part of and like just recently in this last month, it's like the Clippers game, it's the Nuggets game, it's like these big high profile games where it just seems like none of the shots can fall. And so my
but by the way, I love that you didn't mention the Lakers game there, because that's the obvious one that came to mind for me.
You know what's funny though? Like I don't even look at the Lakers as one of those top teams anymore. So it's like I know I've become such a defeatist about them. We'll see. But when it comes to the way that they've configured their offense, like for instance, like Tatum is shooting the pull-up jump shot better, but we're talking like 45% of his shot diet is pull-up jump shots. Like that's a hefty chunk of his, like, and when you factor in that he's taken a few catch and shoot jumpers every game, like more than half of his game is jump shooting. And this is a guy that I agree with you that that's kind of who he is as a player. I agree, but this is also one of the most physically gifted forwards we have in the league. I'm saying he needs to change, is what I'm saying. I'm saying he needs to tweak that.
Or he just needs to be like the best shooter in the league.
Or be the best shooter in the league.
Like it needs to be one of the two.
Which he's not.
Yeah.
So,
like Kawhi Leonard gets away with this. Like Kawhi Leonard takes like, 2 or 3 shots at the rim per game and lives off of a diet of mid-range jumpers and occasional 3-pointers and still shoots 1,000,000,000% from the field approximately. So like that's the level that Jayson Tatum needs to get to. He either needs to be that guy or he needs to be able to get to the rim in the way that you're
and for the record, I think I think Tatum can undergo a little bit of that transition in the sense that like what makes Kawhi such an outstanding mid-range jump shooter is he uses his strength to get to spots closer to the rim. And whereas like Tatum takes highly difficult, like longer distance pull-up jump shots. And so between the leaning on the pull-up jump shot, between the team wide leaning on like they're third in pull-up jump shots as a team. They lead the league in 3-point shots attempted. As I mentioned earlier, they're 27th in points in the paint per game. It has added a huge element of variance to the way they play. And so as a result of that, they are capable of having games. And I know that like a lot of the analytics guys disagree with me on this, but I do believe that shooting is contagious. I do believe that like when a team starts missing, it gets in the head of the team and like everyone starts to kind of get tight and the hands get sweaty and
it's a confidence thing in big moments.
Exactly.
100%.
Yeah. And so I do think that stuff matters. And so like I think if the Celtics lose, it'll look like what it looked like in these games we saw in the last month. It'll be a big game 5, game 6 against a Milwaukee or somebody or the Knicks I'm pretty high on, we'll talk about in a little bit, or a big game in the finals against the Nuggets where it's like, or against the Clippers or somebody like that, where it's like they miss 5 or 6 in a row. And it's like they almost start to get a little hesitant, but they don't have this other punch that they can go to. So I just want to see, I would love to see over these last 20-something games, like just an attempt to add more versatility to the way they attack on offense. To me, that would go such a long way. Like, what are you going to do in the game when we call a timeout and we're down 7 in the middle of the third quarter and we just missed 5 or 6 threes in a row? What are we going to do? Are we going to sit down and be like, hey guys, this is one of those nights we're a little in our heads. We're not making these shots. How about we, spam this wedge action to get Tatum, like some low post touches or Porzingis, whatever it is you got to do, something to just kind of like almost bake in a physical aggression to the beginning of their offensive possessions. Because then from there, it might color, because then you might still get catch and shoot threes, but they'll at least come out of an attempt to get the ball into the paint first. I would just like to see them try. That to me would be a big thing I'm going to be keeping an eye on here down the stretch. Did you have any other thoughts on the Celtics before we move on?
I don't, but honestly, like that ability to be multiple on offense is why I think I'm higher on the Clippers than what many people are and why I actually have them in the same tier is the Celtics and the Nuggets right now. Like, I think they have a real ability to be multiple on offense and have different ways to beat you in a way that they haven't had previously. Now, like, we'll talk about the major factor with the Clippers here momentarily, but like, I'll let you kind of take the lead on where you want to go with that conversation.